Hello, what I'm going to try and do in this video is show you how I made a hollow form. Not just a normal hollow form, a segmented hollow form with shadow gaps. Not an easy project to do. I haven't seen anything like this before on YouTube, so the process is what I've come up with myself. Whether it's right or wrong, someone might point me out. Okay, I'm not a professional, I'm certainly not a professional cameraman, so please ignore all the blunders during this video. So this is what we're trying to make. As you can see, all segmented. Can't really see inside, but it's all polished up exactly on the inside as what it is on the outside. A segmented hollow form. And this is how I've done it. Hopefully it'll come across alright. So the materials we're going to use today then, we're going to have some strips of line. These have already been cut to size and through the planer thicknesser. 2 pieces of African blackwood, okay, which will make the top and the bottom. We'll need a piece of sacrificial softwood, which will be used as a glue block. And just to put between the actual gaps when we do the rings themselves, I'm going to use some lamination. And to glue it all together, I tend to use the Gorilla Wood glue. Okay, the first job I'm going to do is cut the wedges for the actual segmented rings themselves. Do this first, and then there can be gluing up because it does take time as I'm starting with the other parts of the project. The way I cut my wedges then, I use a tabletop saw and I've made what's known as a wedgie sledge. Slides backwards and forwards on the groove of the table, nice and close to the blade, with 2 movable bars. These are actually locked down and set to the angle I want to cut. We also have a stop. This allows us to place the wood against the stop. Setting the wedges themselves then for the correct angles. Best method is to use these 3D printed wedges. Thanks Di for that one. Because I'm doing 12 wedges on this one, I'm just going to use a normal 30-degree set square, which gives you the 12. You simply set the 2 bars so they're along the corresponding edges. The actual cutting of the wedge themselves then. We take our strip of wood, and the first thing we need to do, doesn't matter if we use the front first or the back guide first, we just need to actually put the correct angle on the wood. That's our first pass. The next passes will be from this side, lining up with the block, and this side, lining up with the block, till a total of 12 wedges per ring. Couple of points on safety. Dust extraction will be running, and have you noticed my blade is only as high as I need it to be. Don't have your blade right up high. And the second thing, I've actually fitted a little angle next to my blade. This is so when the small wedges are cut, it falls away from the blade. Okay, with the dust extraction now running, I'm going to cut the actual wedges themselves. Now, first off, trim off the actual timber to the right angle. Okay, the 12 wedges now cut. Right, with the 12 wedges now cut then, for the actual circle, you may need to sand the edges slightly, okay, before gluing together, but it's all I do is when I'm preparing is literally just put them together with an elastic band. Sometimes it's easier said than done, and this will give you a good idea. Before they get glued together, they will have a little bit of sand, okay, just to take off any rough edges which stop them coming together neatly. Generally, that's not bad. Now you can see we've got our 8 rings all cut out, and they're just held in place by a small elastic band. Okay, so we'll keep them nice together. Next thing to do then is to actually glue your rings together. Okay, 2 methods that I use. Yeah, first off, we take the ring, say elastic band around it, glue between all of the segments, and then probably 4 or 5 elastic bands on there just to hold it in shape while the glue goes off. 1's not enough, you do need 3, maybe 4 on there just to hold it in shape. The other way of doing it, yeah, just take this elastic band off, is using a Jubilee clip. Press it over and tighten it up nicely. Yeah, that really does pull it in. This is the way I normally glue the rings together. Glue on both sides, PVA, I use the Gorilla Glue. However, this time I want to try and put a shadow gap in. So out my Formica laminate covering, I've cut some little strips, and each one I'm going to glue in between the segments. So hopefully when I turn this, you'll get an ever so slight gap appear between them. Okay, a lot more fiddly to glue up, I'm sure, but we'll see how we get on. I'll show you the glued up process. Okay, so actually gluing up the rings. First off, take the elastic band off, line all the bits up on the edges. I usually find this is the easiest way and the quickest way to glue the segments themselves. It does take longer because I'm putting the lamination on this one. Glue across all of them and spread it around. Nothing better than your finger for a bit of PVA. I wouldn't recommend it for other glues. It doesn't have to be neat because they will get finished off once they've set. And because I'm putting the lamination in, little piece in there, every single one of them has to be lined up on the outside edge because you're going to put the clamp on there. So I've not tried this method before with the lamination. Hopefully when we turn the wood it will look quite effective. A couple more to go. Just make sure that they're all down at this point. Keep pressing them down as you go, make sure they don't lift. It wants to be relatively tight, but there's no need to graunch it tight. Thing to do, just take a chisel and just clean off the excess of the lamination on each individual one. I'm not going to do that on camera because it's very repetitive. Once you've done that, they go through the planer thicknesser, or if you haven't got a planer thicknesser, it's just as good on a sanding disc. From this point on, we have to do the rest of it on the lathe. Okay, so all I've done is taken out a rough piece of sacrificial wood, turned a spigot on each end and roughly in half. I'm just going to finish that bit off with a tenon saw, and that allows us to mount both sides when we actually come to, or both parts should I say, of the hollow form when we come to actually glue it together. We left plenty of space to work with, so when we glue the block up and move forward, it allows us to work both sides keeping away from the chuck. One thing to make sure we do is when we have actually separated them and mounted them in there, make sure we actually mark the centre spots on all ends. We need to keep them for references. Now we've got our sacrificial piece mounted in the chuck, we're just going to take a cut across the end, make sure we've got a nice flush gluing surface. Yep, not too bad at all. Okay, first step is what we're going to do then is glue on our base layer. This is a solid piece of black wood, centres marked, and it's all we're going to do is glue it on with UPVA wood glue. So simply glue on the back, onto there, line it up with your tailstock, and we'll change this centre, put a flat one in, and then clamp it in place and let the glue go off. It is a bit of a painstaking game from now on. Here we go, bit of glue. Make sure you protect your bed. Don't go too skimpy on the glue neither. Get a good layer on there. Move it around, twist it side to side, gets the air bubbles out and gives you a much better grip. Bring your tailstock up, and with that centre mark that we've marked on, just leave that a second just to get a grip. Then we can take it away, take out the point, put a flat one in. Unfortunately that's it now, got to wait for the glue to go off again. I'll see you in a bit. Okay, next thing I'm going to do then is I'm just about to turn this base round. Once we've got that turned round, we'll put the next layer on. And again, it's a case now of building up the layer by layer, making sure we put our black laminate in between each layer as we go. First layer was against the black wood, we don't need to put that layer in. Okay, just plain down the edge there, just give it a nice surface to bind to as we put the next layer on. Okay, gluing on our first segmented ring. Quite a simple task, pretty much the same, very repetitive now. And all I do is just use the tailstock, bring it in, and it gives you quite a good indication of centre. Take that out, And is what I use now is just a board which got a little adapter on and it fits into my tail stock like so. Yeah. Okay, so the next layer, this time we need to put in our layer of black, yeah, and glue the next ring on. And don't be stingy on the glue again. I'm putting these black layers in. I've never actually tried this before, so let's get the glue out of the way. Now when we're lining this one up, we need to twist it into place and we've got to line it up as best we can and bring in our board itself. That doesn't look too bad at all. So, 2 layers on. Here's I'm going to go in, take these corners off, and then it gives me a better idea, it gives you an idea of the shape that I'll be able to achieve, or what I'm hoping to achieve anyway. So we'll start off just by taking the edges off, working down until it smooths out just like we do a ball turn. About 800 revs, nice and slow to start with, and steady away. Okay. As you can see, we've just knocked the corners off now, and already you can see the shape that it's going to be. Just got to keep going in and carefully cutting it out to our ball shape that we're trying to achieve. Okay, as you can see now, we're starting to cut through. Still got some rough areas around the edges here, but it's starting to smooth out like a ball would be. So what I'm going to do now is just keep on taking a cut nice and gradually down, trying to keep it the same cut all the way through. Okay, as you can see, each cut pass we make, we're getting close. Here, we're practically in already, look. Just a few other areas. As we can see now, probably just one more cut just to take these areas here. I don't know if you can see there. And as you can see, nice sharp chisel that time. Yeah, freshly sharpened for that final cut. Yeah, and that probably as we'll do for a sand. Next job is to sand the inside, and that's all we can do on the inside, and then finish that. Just going to take the outer rim down, make that a full circle instead of the segmented angles that it is. Turning these edges nice and steady, nice and steady. So now we've got our total diameter of the hollow form, or the shape, when we actually glue the second part to it. And that's it's sanded down there to 400. Next thing I'm going to do is put on some sanding sealer. Be careful when you're doing this not to put it on this outside edge, because that's where you're going to glue the next ball on, if you like, to make our hollow form. Let's have the sanding sealer on there now. Is all I'm going to do now is finish it off with some chestnut microcrystalline wax. So this is the inside, so you're not really going to see much of this, but it's nice to have it finished off properly. When I get the other one on top and we drill the hole through, you will be able to see so much inside. The next thing we need to do then is unchuck this one, get our piece of sacrificial for our second one, and repeat the process till we get to this stage again. So what I'll do, I'll crack on with that and I'll catch up with you in a bit. As we can see now then, next one's all glued up on our piece of softwood there. The only difference I've done on this glue up to the other one, I've done it all in one go. The second one is I've put the last piece of laminate glued on the end. So when we do get our other one and glue it to give us our hollow form, we'll have the black rim or the black shadow gap which we've been after. And so far, as you can see, they're not looking too bad. Right, as you can see, second one now ready for turning. I've just cut the laminates out. As we can see now, we have our two halves completed. One with the black laminate on, one without. So obviously when this gets stuck on there, we still have the black laminate line between them. Both being finished inside. Is what I'm going to do now to prevent glue spillage is I'm going to super glue on here, and put them together. Again, line them up nicely using the tailstock. As we can see now, these are nicely stuck together. Bring the tailstock in. Turn the outside down. Bit rough still, needs a bit of fine tuning on there. We got it in. You can probably see now where I'm in the sacrificial areas. And the reason we have these is so we don't have to keep turning it round and rechucking it. It is very thin. Okay, so it is quite brittle. I'll be back when I've done some sanding. The next stage then, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get ready and go part the way in on the parting off on both sides. I don't want to take it off completely yet, because before I do take it off, I'm going to finish the piece as much as I possibly can. I've now just marked out where I will cut off when it comes to parting. Because I've been sanding with Blackwood, it does leave a lot of very dark dust. So what I tend to do is just wipe over with either methylated spirits or some form of alcohol. Now the sanding sealer has actually dried, it has roughed the grain up. So what I'm going to do now is just cut that back using a bit of cut and polish. I tend to put this on with the lathe stationary, and that's knocked it back down now. It's starting to bring a bit of a shine to it. And what I'm going to use to finish is the Hampshire Sheen High Gloss. I prefer this to the microcrystalline wax. It does give a slightly better finish, but there again, it's a lot more money. But that seems to have come up not too bad at all. Okay, next thing we've got to do then is part off this end. And this is the part I'm really not looking forward to. Right, here goes then the bit I'm not looking forward to, the parting off of the top of the hollow form. Get nice and steady, little cuts. Yeah, speed is not too fast. I think that's as far as I dare go. I'm going to do the rest with a tenon saw. As you can see now then, we've parted off our block. Yeah. Next thing we need to do is put a hole in. I want to do it about 25mm. Once the hole's done, we've tidied up, polished the top. It's a case of parting off the bottom and just finishing off the bottom foot. Okay, drilling the hole in. I'm using a 10mm engineer's bit in the Jacobs chuck. Now to enlarge, I'll go to another engineer's. This one 13mm. Sure, you don't want to see me drill the holes all day till I make it larger. Yeah, so I'll come back when I've done it. Drilled that out now. I've added a little bit of shape. Yeah, should have put the camera back on for that. Now, you need to just get in there, give it a good sand around. Yeah, always use it, especially when it's Blackwood. Right, I'm sure you don't need to see me sand. I'll come back once I've finished. Right, just to finish off the top here now. I've re-sanded all of this. I'm not going to put sanding sealer on this time because I don't want to go onto where the lighter wood is finished. So I'm just going to use a bit of cut and paste. Cut and paste, I said cut and polish even. Just incidentally, once I'd finished sanding, I did actually get my hoover and suck out any dust that had gone inside the hollow form itself. Comes down to the final part where I've got to part off at the bottom and just clean the bottom up. Always don't like parting off, especially when you've got a wide like vessel. Again, I'll go down as far as I dare and then I'll take the rest off with the tenon saw. Right, I think I'm going to chicken out there. And off she comes. Right, all I've got to do now is just finish off on the bottom. It's surprising how light that is, how thin we've actually got the walls on that. And hopefully I can set the camera up so you can look inside and see the internal work that we've done earlier, yeah, and how it all looks. And to be perfectly honest, it's pretty stunning. I'm impressed with myself. I'll just set the lathe up and I'll show you how I finish the bottom. Finishing off the bottom then, I've got this horrendously large Jacobs chuck on an MT3 which fits into my headstock. Yeah, and I just put a tiny little sponged sanding disc on there. Start off relatively slow, yeah, and just slowly sand away. Just keep going until we get a nice finish on the bottom. Again, going down the grits. I'm sure you don't want me to watch me sand, so here we have it, the finished product. The wall thicknesses are about 3 to 5 mil thick all the way through. There will be a bit heavier on this band here because of where the glue joint was, yeah, but generally it's nice and thin. You can't see on the camera, okay, but you can see all of the segmenting work inside as well. So all that effort to polish that up is definitely not to waste. Quite a light piece, yeah. It's turned out quite well. I'm really pleased with that. Hopefully I can edit this video so you can see it. Hope you enjoyed it, and hopefully somebody else will take up a bit of segmenting work.